The day started like any other on New Eden, Earth's largest off-world colony. Children laughed as they walked to school, workers rushed to their jobs, and farmers tended to their crops under the warm light of twin suns. No one knew that this ordinary day would mark the end of peace and the beginning of a terrible war. High above the planet, strange ships appeared out of nowhere. They were huge and shaped like arrowheads. These were the warships of the Galactic Council, a group of powerful alien races that ruled most of the known universe. The Council had watched humans grow stronger and smarter over the years. They were scared of what humans might become. Captain Maria Rodriguez of the New Eden Defense Force was the first to see the alien ships on her radar. Her heart raced as she tried to contact them. "This is New Eden Control. Unknown ships, please identify yourselves." No answer came. Instead, the alien ships started to move into attack positions. Maria's hands shook as she hit the alarm button. "This is not a drill. We are under attack. All citizens, please go to the nearest shelter immediately." Her voice echoed across the city through loudspeakers. People looked up at the sky in confusion and fear. Suddenly, bright beams of energy shot down from the alien ships. Buildings exploded. Trees burst into flames. The peaceful world of New Eden turned into a nightmare in seconds. People ran screaming through the streets, trying to find safety. In orbit, Maria and her small team of fighters launched to defend their home. They were brave, but their ships were like toys compared to the huge alien warships. "We can't let them win," Maria shouted to her pilots. For Earth and New Eden. The human ships fought hard, dodging energy beams and firing back with everything they had. For a moment, it seemed like they might have a chance. But then more alien ships appeared. There were too many. One by one, the human ships were shot down. As her ship was hit, Maria's last thought was of her family on the planet below. Her fighter exploded in a ball of fire, joining the many other lights of destruction in the sky of New Eden. On the ground, John Chen hugged his wife and daughter tightly in an underground shelter. The walls shook with each explosion above. "Why are they doing this?" his daughter cried. John didn't have an answer. No one did. The attack wasn't just happening on New Eden. All across human space, peaceful colonies were being destroyed. Millions of innocent people died in the first hour alone. The Galactic Council had decided that humanity was a threat, and they wanted to wipe us out before we became too strong. Back on Earth, the news of the attack caused chaos. People couldn't believe what was happening. World leaders gathered in an emergency meeting, their faces pale with shock and anger. "This is General Williams," a grim-faced man announced on global TV. "We are at war. The human race is fighting for its very survival." As the terrible first day of the war came to an end, the full horror became clear. Earth's outer colonies were in ruins. Millions were dead. The human military had been caught completely by surprise and suffered heavy losses. But even in this darkest hour, the human spirit refused to be broken. In secret bunkers and hidden bases, the survivors began to plan. They would not forget this day. They would not forgive. Humanity had been attacked, but now it would show the galaxy why that was a terrible mistake. The war had just begun, and humanity was ready to strike back with all its strength and fury. The days following the Galactic Council's attack were filled with sorrow and anger on Earth. People all over the world watched their screens in horror as images of destroyed colonies filled the news. Families cried for loved ones lost in the attack. The whole planet seemed to be in mourning. In New York City, a large crowd gathered in Times Square. They stood silent, holding candles and pictures of the people who died. Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted, "We can't let them get away with this." Others joined in, and soon the quiet mourning turned into angry shouts for justice. Similar scenes played out in cities across the globe. In London, Paris, Tokyo, and countless other places, people came together to share their grief and express their fury. The attack had united humanity in a way nothing else ever had. World leaders struggled to respond to the crisis. In an emergency meeting of the United Nations, heated arguments broke out. Some wanted to try talking to the Galactic Council, while others demanded immediate military action. "We must strike back now," shouted the Russian president, his face red with anger. "Every moment we wait, more of our people die." The Chinese leader disagreed. "But our weapons are no match for theirs. We need time to prepare, or we'll just be sending more people to their deaths." As the arguments continued, a young woman named Sarah Chen sat quietly in the back of the room. She was a captain in the Global Defense Force and had been invited to the meeting because of her brilliant military strategies. While the leaders argued, Sarah's mind raced with ideas. Meanwhile, in secret military bases around the world, soldiers and scientists worked nonstop. They studied the alien technology from destroyed ships found in the colonies. Engineers worked day and night to improve Earth's defenses and weapons. In one lab, Dr. Amit Patel made an exciting discovery. "Look at this," he shouted to his team. "The alien ships use a new kind of energy we've never seen before. If we can understand it, we might be able to defend against their weapons." Back at the UN meeting, Sarah Chen finally stood up to speak. The room fell silent as she walked to the front. Though she was young, her eyes showed a determination that made even the oldest leaders pay attention. "We can't win this war with our current weapons and strategies," Sarah began. The room erupted in angry shouts, but she raised her hand for silence. "But that doesn't mean we can't win. We need to think differently. We need to use what makes humans special: our creativity, our ability to adapt, and our willingness to work together when things are tough." Sarah laid out a daring plan. It involved secret attacks on Galactic Council outposts, gathering more alien technology, and uniting Earth's military forces like never before. "It won't be easy," she said. "We'll face losses and hardships. But if we work together, we can surprise the enemy and show them that humanity is not to be underestimated." The room was quiet for a moment after Sarah finished speaking. Then, slowly, people began to nod. The U.S. president stood up. "Captain Chen's plan is risky, but it's the best chance we have. I say we do it." One by one, the other leaders agreed. They might have argued before, but now they were united in their desire for justice and survival. As the meeting ended, Sarah felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She looked out the window at the busy city below. People were going about their lives, trying to stay strong despite their fear and sadness. "We won't let you down," she whispered. That night, as the world slept, the gears of Sarah's plan began to turn. In hidden shipyards, a new fleet was being built. In training grounds, soldiers learned new tactics. And in labs around the world, scientists worked to unlock the secrets of alien technology. The road ahead would be hard, but humanity was ready. They had moved past their initial shock and despair. Now, they were filled with a burning desire for justice. The Galactic Council had awakened a sleeping giant, and soon they would feel the full force of humanity's rage. The world was changing fast. In every country, on every continent, humans were getting ready for war. The plan that Sarah Chen had proposed was now in full swing. Everywhere you looked, you could see signs of preparation. In a secret underground base in the Rocky Mountains, Sarah, now promoted to admiral, stood in front of a large screen. The room was filled with military leaders from around the world. "Our first task," Sarah said, pointing to a map of the galaxy, "is to build a fleet that can actually fight the Galactic Council." One of the generals spoke up. "But Admiral, how can we do that? Their ships are so much more advanced than ours." Sarah smiled. "That's where our secret weapon comes in: human ingenuity." In laboratories all over Earth, scientists and engineers were working day and night. They were studying pieces of alien technology found in the wreckage of the attack. Dr. Amit Patel, the scientist who had discovered the alien energy source, was leading a team to create new weapons. "Look at this," Dr. Patel said, holding up a small glowing device. "We've managed to replicate their energy shields. With this, our ships will be able to withstand their attacks. Meanwhile, in shipyards hidden beneath the oceans and in remote mountain valleys, a new kind of spaceship was being built. These ships were unlike anything humans had made before. They were faster, stronger, and packed with the latest technology reverse engineered from alien tech. But it wasn't just about building new weapons. Humans knew they needed to be smarter too. In military academies, soldiers were learning new ways of fighting. They studied the Galactic Council's tactics and came up with ways to counter them. At one of these academies, a trainer was speaking to a group of pilots. "Remember," he said, "the aliens think they're better than us. They'll underestimate us. That's when we'll strike." While all this was happening, governments around the world were working together in ways they never had before. Old enemies became allies, united against a common threat. Resources were shared, and the best minds from every nation came together to work on the war effort. In a meeting room in Geneva, world leaders were discussing the next phase of the plan. "We need to keep this all secret," said the president of the African Union. "If the Galactic Council finds out what we're doing, they'll attack again before we're ready." Everyone agreed. Secrecy was key. To keep their activities hidden, humans had to be clever. They built fake towns to hide their real bases. They used old-fashioned radio instead of space communications. They even started spreading false information, hoping to confuse any alien spies. But preparing for war wasn't just about military stuff. People everywhere were doing their part. Farmers grew extra food to build up supplies. Kids in schools learned emergency drills. Everyone was working together, determined to be ready when the time came. One day, as Sarah was inspecting a new shipyard, she met a young engineer named Alex. "Admiral," Alex said, "I lost my whole family in the attack. I want you to know, we're all behind you. Whatever it takes, we'll make them pay." Sarah put her hand on Alex's shoulder. "We will," she said. "But remember, this isn't just about revenge. It's about protecting what's left of humanity and making sure something like this never happens again." As the weeks turned into months, Earth's transformation continued. The planet that the Galactic Council had tried to crush was becoming stronger than ever. Humans were not just preparing for war. They were preparing to change the galaxy forever. Finally, after months of hard work, Sarah stood in front of the United Earth Council. "We're ready," she said. "The human vengeance fleet is prepared for launch. It's time to take the fight to the enemy." The room erupted in cheers. The moment they had all been waiting for had finally arrived. As Sarah looked around at the determined faces, she knew that no matter what happened next, humanity would face it together. The Galactic Council had no idea what was coming for them. The day had finally come. In a massive underground hangar, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the assembled crews of the human vengeance fleet. Thousands of men and women in sleek new uniforms listened intently as she spoke. "Today, we take the fight to the enemy," Sarah said, her voice echoing through the vast space. "Remember why we're here. Remember what they did to us. But most importantly, remember that we're fighting for the future of humanity." As Sarah finished her speech, a great cheer went up. The crews rushed to their ships, ready to launch humanity's first major offensive against the Galactic Council. High above Earth, hidden by new cloaking technology, the human vengeance fleet assembled. The ships were unlike anything ever seen before, a perfect blend of human innovation and reverse-engineered alien tech. At Sarah's command, they jumped into hyperspace, vanishing in a flash of light. Their first target was a small Galactic Council outpost on the edge of human space. As the fleet dropped out of hyperspace, the alien station came into view. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then, chaos erupted. Human ships swarmed the surprised alien defenses. Energy beams flashed across space as the battle began. Inside her flagship, Sarah watched the tactical display, calling out orders. "Echo Squadron, take out those defense platforms. Delta Wing, protect our bombers." The human ships moved with a speed and agility that caught the aliens completely off guard. Years of playing video games had prepared human pilots for this moment, their reflexes honed to perfection. On the station, alien commanders panicked. They had thought the humans were defeated, but now they faced an enemy they didn't understand. Before they could mount an effective defense, human boarding parties were already inside the station. Among the boarders was Alex, the young engineer Sarah had met months ago. He led his team through the alien corridors, using their new tech to bypass security systems. "Remember the plan," he told his squad. "We're here for their databanks. In and out, quick and quiet." But things rarely go perfectly in war. As Alex's team neared the main computer core, they were spotted by a group of alien guards. A fierce firefight broke out in the narrow hallways. Back in space, the battle raged on. Human ships darted and weaved, using tactics the aliens had never seen before. Sarah's strategy was working. The Council forces were confused and disorganized. "Admiral," one of Sarah's officers called out, "we're detecting a large energy buildup in the station. They might be trying to self-destruct." Sarah's mind raced. They couldn't lose the data in those computers. It was vital for their next moves. "All ships, focus fire on their power core," she ordered. "We need to overload their systems before they can blow the station." The human fleet responded instantly, concentrating their fire on a single point. The station's shields buckled under the assault. Inside, Alex and his team felt the station shudder. "We're out of time," he shouted over the sound of alarms. "Grab what we can and go." They downloaded as much data as possible and fought their way back to their ship. As the last human ships pulled away, the alien station exploded in a brilliant flash. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Their first strike had been a success. But there was no time to celebrate. "All ships, prepare for immediate jump," Sarah commanded. "We hit them hard, but they'll be coming for us now. On to the next target." In a flash, the human vengeance fleet disappeared again, leaving behind only debris and a lot of very confused aliens. News of the attack spread quickly through the Galactic Council. For the first time, they realized that the humans were not the easy prey they had thought. Fear began to grow among the alien races. What else were these humans capable of? As the human vengeance fleet continued its hit-and-run attacks across the galaxy, a new saying began to spread among Council worlds. "Beware the humans. They remember, and they're coming for us all." The war had truly begun, and humanity was showing the galaxy why it was a force to be reckoned with. Weeks had passed since the human vengeance fleet's first attack. They had struck many Galactic Council bases, always staying one step ahead of the alien forces. But Admiral Sarah Chen knew they needed more than just victories in battle. They needed answers. "We still don't know why they attacked us," Sarah said to her officers during a meeting on her flagship. "We need to find out. There has to be a reason." Their chance came when they discovered the location of a secret Galactic Council research facility. It was hidden on a small moon, protected by powerful shields. This wasn't going to be an easy mission. "This is it," Sarah told her crew. "Whatever they're hiding in there, it must be important. We're going to find out what it is." The battle to reach the facility was fierce. Human ships clashed with alien defenders in the space around the moon. But Sarah's clever tactics and the humans' unpredictable style of fighting won the day. As the dust settled, Sarah led a team to the surface. Among them was Dr. Amit Patel, the scientist who had helped develop much of their new technology. They fought their way through the facility's defenses, pushing deeper into its heart. Finally, they reached a massive computer core. Dr. Patel rushed to the main console, his fingers flying over the alien controls. "I'm in," he shouted after a tense few minutes. Downloading all their files now. But as the download began, alarms blared. "We've triggered some kind of failsafe," one of the soldiers yelled. "This whole place is going to blow." "How long do we have?" Sarah asked, her voice calm despite the danger. 10 minutes, maybe less," the soldier replied. Sarah made a quick decision. Keep downloading. We're not leaving without those files. The minutes ticked by slowly. Everyone held their breath as the progress bar on Dr. Patel's device crept forward. Just as the facility began to shake, the download finished. Got it, Dr. Patel shouted. They ran back to their ship, barely escaping as the facility exploded behind them. Once safely back on the flagship, Dr. Patel began to analyze the data they had stolen. Hours later, he called for an emergency meeting. His face was pale as he addressed Sarah and the other leaders. "I've found it," he said. "The reason they attacked us. You're not going to believe this." Dr. Patel pulled up a series of ancient-looking texts on the main screen. According to these records, there's an old prophecy that's been terrifying the Galactic Council for centuries. It speaks of a young race that will rise up and overthrow the old order, bringing freedom to the oppressed species of the galaxy. The room was silent as everyone took in this information. Sarah was the first to speak. "And they think we're this prophesied race. That's why they tried to wipe us out." Dr. Patel nodded. "Yes. Our rapid advancement in technology, our adaptability, our unpredictable nature. It all fits the prophecy. They attacked us because they're afraid of what we might become." The implications of this discovery were huge. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. Humanity was fighting for its destiny, and for the freedom of countless other races. As news of the prophecy spread through the human fleet, it gave everyone new energy. They weren't just victims striking back. They were the hope for a better galaxy. But the revelation had another unexpected effect. Messages began to come in from various alien worlds. Many of the Council's subject races, long oppressed by the powerful alien alliance, saw humanity as their chance for freedom. They offered help, sharing information about Council movements and weaknesses. Sarah stood at the window of her ship, looking out at the stars. The weight of this new knowledge pressed down on her, but she also felt a surge of determination. "We didn't ask for this," she said softly. "But if we're the ones who can bring change to the galaxy, then that's what we'll do." She turned to her communications officer. "Send a message to all human forces and our new allies. Tell them the real war starts now. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for everyone who's ever been pushed around by the Council. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity can really do." As the message went out, a new chapter in the war began. Humanity was no longer alone, and the Galactic Council was about to face a threat unlike any they had ever seen before. The day had finally come. After months of planning and preparation, the human vengeance fleet, now joined by ships from other alien races who had rebelled against the Galactic Council, was ready to launch its final assault. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking out at the massive fleet gathered before her. Ships of all shapes and sizes, representing dozens of different species, floated in the darkness of space. It was a sight that would have been impossible just a few months ago. "All ships report ready, Admiral," her second-in-command reported. Sarah took a deep breath. "Then let's make history. All ships, prepare to jump." In a flash of light, the entire fleet disappeared into hyperspace. Their destination, Alforia, the capital world of the Galactic Council. As they dropped out of hyperspace near Alforia, alarms blared across the fleet. The Galactic Council had prepared a massive defense force. Thousands of ships filled the space around the planet, backed up by huge orbital defense platforms. "They were expecting us," Sarah muttered. Then, louder, she ordered, "All ships, battle formation Delta. Let's show them what we've got." The space around Alforia erupted into chaos. Energy beams crisscrossed the void, missiles streaked between ships, and fighters darted in all directions. It was the largest space battle in the history of the galaxy. On the bridge of her ship, Sarah coordinated the attack. "Group A, focus fire on those defense platforms. Group B, punch a hole through their left flank. Group C, protect our capital ships." The human fleet moved with a coordination that surprised the Council forces. Years of playing complex strategy games had prepared human commanders for this moment. They adapted quickly to the changing battle, using tactics the Council had never seen before. But the Council forces fought back hard. They had the advantage of numbers and home territory. Human ships exploded under heavy fire, and for a moment, it seemed like the attack might fail. Then something unexpected happened. From the far side of the planet, a new fleet appeared. It was the ships of more rebelling alien races, ones that had been secretly organizing on Alforia itself. They attacked the Council forces from behind, catching them in a deadly crossfire. "This is our chance," Sarah shouted. "All ships push forward. We need to reach the surface." The combined fleet surged forward, breaking through the Council's defenses. Sarah led a group of ships down to the planet's surface, heading for the Council's central government building. As they landed, Sarah and a team of elite soldiers fought their way inside. The corridors of the building were a maze, but they had studied the plans carefully. They knew where they were going. Finally, they'd reached the main council chamber. Inside, the leaders of the Galactic Council were in panic, trying to escape. But it was too late. Sarah stepped forward, her weapon raised. "In the name of humanity and all the races you've oppressed, you're under arrest," she declared. The council leaders looked at her in shock. One of them, an old alien with blue skin, spoke up. "You don't understand what you're doing," he said. "Without us, the galaxy will fall into chaos." Sarah shook her head. "No, you're the ones who never understood. The galaxy doesn't need rulers. It needs cooperation, understanding, and freedom. And that's what we're going to build." As Sarah's team secured the council leaders, cheers erupted from outside. The news was spreading fast. The Galactic Council had fallen. The war was over. Sarah walked to a window and looked out at the city below. Everywhere, people of all species were celebrating in the streets. Ships from the human fleet and their allies flew overhead, no longer firing weapons, but releasing showers of light in victory. She thought about the long journey that had brought them here. The pain, the losses, the hard choices, but also the bravery, the ingenuity, and the unbreakable spirit of not just humanity, but all the races that had joined their cause. "It's really over," she said softly. Her second-in-command joined her at the window. "No, Admiral," he said with a smile. "It's just beginning. We have a whole new galaxy to build." Sarah nodded, a mix of exhaustion and hope on her face. The hardest battle was over, but the real work was just starting. It was time to create the free, just galaxy they had all been fighting for. 1 year had passed since the fall of the Galactic Council. The galaxy was a very different place now. On a beautiful green planet, chosen as neutral ground, representatives from hundreds of alien races gathered for the first meeting of the new Galactic Alliance. Admiral Sarah Chen, now Ambassador Chen, walked into the massive meeting hall. She looked different now, her military uniform replaced by formal diplomatic attire. But her eyes still held the same determination they had during the war. As Sarah took her seat, she looked around the room. There were beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors. Some looked almost human, others were completely alien. But all were here with the same purpose: to build a better future for everyone. The meeting began with a speech from the newly elected Galactic Alliance president, a wise old being from a race that had long been oppressed by the old council. "Friends, allies, fellow galactic citizens," the president began. "We gather here today to begin a new chapter in our shared history. No longer will any one race or group dictate the fate of others. From this day forward, we shall all have a voice in shaping our galaxy." As the president spoke, Sarah thought back to the challenges of the past year. Dismantling the old council's power structures hadn't been easy. There had been resistance, attempted coups, and moments when it seemed like everything might fall apart. But every time, the Alliance had held together. Humans, with their adaptability and fresh perspective, often helped find creative solutions to problems that had puzzled older races for centuries. After the president's speech, it was time to address the major issues. Representatives from different worlds stood up to speak about their concerns and hopes. A reptilian being from a desert world spoke about the need for fair trade agreements. A floating gas-like entity brought up concerns about protecting unique ecosystems. A human scientist proposed a galaxy-wide education exchange program. As the discussions went on, Sarah noticed something important. In the past, under the old council, these meetings were full of fear and suspicion, but now there was a sense of excitement and possibility. People weren't just thinking about their own worlds anymore. They were thinking about how to make the whole galaxy better. Towards the end of the meeting, it was Sarah's turn to speak. She stood up, feeling the eyes of the galaxy on her. A year ago, humanity was fighting for its survival. She began. We didn't know if we had a future, let alone a place in the galaxy. But look at us now. We're part of something greater than we ever imagined. She paused, looking around the room. But we haven't forgotten where we came from. We know what it's like to be the underdogs, to face overwhelming odds. And that's why we're committed to making sure no race ever has to feel that way again. Sarah then proposed a bold new initiative. A rapid response force made up of ships and personnel from all member races. Its job would be to protect weaker worlds from any threats and to provide aid in times of natural disasters. The idea was met with enthusiastic approval. Many races, remembering how humanity and its allies had come to their aid against the Council, were eager to pay it forward. As the meeting came to a close, Sarah stepped out onto a balcony overlooking the capital city. The sky was filled with ships of all kinds, a constant reminder of the bustling, diverse galaxy they were now part of. Dr. Amit Patel, her old friend and now the head of the Galactic Science Council, joined her. "Quite a view, isn't it?" he said. Sarah nodded. "Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come." Amit smiled. "You know, that old prophecy turned out to be right. Humanity did change the galaxy, just not in the way anyone expected." Sarah laughed. "I guess the moral of the story is, don't try to wipe out the humans. We might just surprise you." As they stood there, watching the sun set on a new era, both Sarah and Amit felt a sense of pride and hope. The galaxy wasn't perfect. There were still challenges to face and problems to solve. But for the first time in a long time, the future looked bright for everyone. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of the Galactic Alliance had just begun. And humanity, once the newcomers fighting for survival, was right at the heart of it all.